Yo, what's going on, miners? Today we're going to be talking about the Flux OS. So let's get right into it. So I don't know if anybody's noticed this, but Flux has had pretty much about 2 weeks ago had a really big release. It was version 4.0.0 for the Flux OS, and it has lots of improvements and lots of stuff coming out with this release. A lot of patch notes to go over. So I'm gonna touch some of these notes and some of my thoughts about everything. So they recently are releasing this version of Flux OS, and they plan on this is more geared for. There's going to be a section for enterprise nodes. Well, they'll be able to. Some of the end users will be able to specify up to 110 nodes to run their application. It'll also have a maturity score, score for the node for like how long has the node been up, as well as be able to have static IPs and things like that. So that's something that's also going to be coming into play. But the biggest thing, and this is for all node operators, is going to be the new port range that they have specified. And I kind of want to get into that. So because this is the biggest part of this update, and I kind of want to go over it with some of these people because we definitely need to get awareness out there for fluxnode operators. So we're over here, and this is the release notes right here for 4.0.0, and you can see all these things about the enterprise nodes and some of these other releases that they're having for static IP options and all this other stuff. Now we're going to get down to the port range change for the Flux OS, and I believe that this is going to go live July 7th. I could be wrong about that date, but I'm pretty sure that this is when it's going to go live. Now, the Flux OS is now going to require ports 1 through 65,535 to be open. This is I think this is going to be detrimental to a lot of home users, because most home users do not have, if they're using consumer grade and or the ISPs all-in-one included, Wi-Fi router, switch, everything like that. They're all going to be running on the same subnet. So opening your Flux node up to the outside world is going to create so many vulnerabilities to you and your network. Essentially, you're putting this Flux node in a DMZ. And I understand why Flux is doing this, because they want to be able to be competitive and have the same ports and everything open as you would as if you went to AWS or Azure, right, or something like that. They need to be competitive with other people out in the space, right? So I get it. Now, some ports it says here, such as 22 and 23, and a couple more defined in the configuration file, are going to be banned and not possible to be assigned to applications. Now, the only way that they're going to be doing some of these ports that they will be doing is now they're banning it inside of the firewall of Linux through the Flux OS, right? So you still have to open up said ports though on your router, right? You need to open up those ports. Now the problem with that is a lot of consumer grade hardware is not going to support this, because some will definitely block you from trying to open ports 22, 23, 443, port 80, all these other ports that are more for enterprise level, deployments and things like that, right? So if you guys are hosting a Flux node, you guys really need to do what you can in order to protect yourself. You need to put your nodes on a completely different subnet than your home network, because this is essentially a vulnerability into your home network. It's essentially saying, hey, the front door's wide open, come on in. That's essentially what it is. And I get they're going to be using the Linux firewall and stuff like that, but I mean, that's not the greatest thing in the world. So I'm I'm concerned for people's network security at home moving forward, right? I want everyone to be safe, and for them to, their networks to be safe, because I think I think moving forward that this will be a vulnerability for people at home. So you guys need to be careful. I know some people watch my YouTube videos, they've watched other people's YouTube videos making flux nodes, and people want to be involved in flux nodes. And something that Jeffkey said in the last Terahash Hash Tuesday that we recently had is flux nodes is not for everyday people. Flux is more for the intermediate to advanced people. So I just want to reiterate that again, that flux nodes aren't for everybody, and they're not meant for everyone to participate in. And I think you need to have some level of networking in order to be able to protect yourself with this, because this is moving forward with this Flux OS and these port changes. They are really moving into the enterprise world. So I think this is more getting into that intermediate to advanced level. So people really need to understand what they're kind of signing up for here. Now, I did inquire about some of these other ports and static IPs and stuff like that will have additional price increase, right? So I did ask the question, Jeffkey, at this time that they would not be increasing the node rewards or to node operators when they actually give out static IPs or open these additional port ranges 1 through 1023. They'll be using these, and they can request to have some of these ports opened. So my fear is with this ginormous port range being open, is they plan on doing this on the Linux level to control this. So my question is moving forward is if this creates vulnerabilities, which I think it does, and maybe I'm wrong or maybe I'm right, is if this creates vulnerabilities for people at home, how secure is the Flux network going to be, right? So like they haven't announced or showed their penetration tests, or if I don't even know if they've even had one done. I think node operators should have access to this kind of information, because moving forward, everybody is going to be. There could be things at risk here. Having this wide of a port range, that's essentially 65,535 ports opened. That's a lot. I'm not sure that this is the best approach moving forward, is to just open up everything and just let everything communicate, seamlessly together. I understand it because of how the nodes operate, so that way they could spawn instantly anywhere. This is why it has to be this way, but I do feel like there should be a different route, right? I think something else. I think a different path should be taken. Now, I'm a huge Flux advocate. I love Flux and I love this project. I just feel like the home users here, maybe people who are also people who are uneducated or who are just trying to run Flux nodes for that passive income here, really don't understand what they're getting themselves into here. So I just want everyone to be careful. I want everyone to be safe and realize what's going on right here. Open up this many ports as a DMZ, which is creating a huge vulnerability in everybody's network. So just keep that in mind when you guys are making Flux nodes. Keep yourself safe. Keep it off your personal network. Because the fear I have, right, is that some home users won't be able to participate anymore, and then they're going to have to go to other dedicated hosting platforms like AWS or Hetzner. And to me, that kind of defeats the purpose of having to be decentralized and having everybody participate around the world, right? And you could do it from home. I think some people moving forward, having this many ports open and stuff like that and creating vulnerabilities in home networks, I think some people may move to actual platforms that we're trying to get away from. We're trying to get away from AWS. We're trying to get away from Azure and all those big hosting companies. So I'm a huge Flux advocate, but I'm not sure that I'm with the new port. I'm not with the new port changes or the Flux OS. I think there should be a better, more secure way of doing our Flux nodes than opening up the entire thing to the whole wide world, right? I'm not a developer by any means necessary. I don't have the skill set for that, but I can recognize when there is network vulnerabilities, right? And I think anybody with even a little bit of networking experience is going to see this and think that this is a huge vulnerability moving forward. So that's it for today's video. It's pretty much, I just wanted to go over some of the Flux OS updates I've seen, and that I want to bring this to the attention of everybody in the community. I wanted to make sure everybody stays safe, and please make your network secure. No matter how much I love the Flux project, I always want all of my viewers and everybody in the mining community to keep themselves safe as far as, you know, on a networking level. But yeah, that's why I made this video. So now I would love to do a video on how to make your network secure, right? I'm not like, I don't have experience with every single router or every single operating system, and it's going to vary from ISP to what router you have and what's on your network and all this other stuff. It's going to vary. It's going to be lots of swings and variant models and things like that. So my advice to you guys would be, moving forward, if you have a Flux node, I would put it on a VM, preferably one that just has a management port that you access and that does not communicate with the same network that your home network uses. Like, no crosstalk between that. Like, can't even communicate with your home network. You want to keep it completely separated in the event that this particular Flux node or whatever comes through and gets compromised, that they won't be able to attack your home network. As well as on your routers, your admin passwords, I know a lot of people just leave them as stock. I would highly recommend that you use a 25 character strong password for your router, because no matter what, every subnet will have a gateway, and that gateway will go back to your router, so they will potentially have access to your router, right? So I would also recommend making a strong random 25 character password for your router. Write it down somewhere, put it in your safe, whatever, right? Because most people don't make a lot of changes actively to their network at home. So once you usually set your network, it's usually that way, and it kind of stays that way. So I would definitely do those security measures just to start with. Those are some good key things that you could do. Now, not all ISPs are going to let you change the router password. They also, if you're using an ISP all-in-one solution, it's not going to let you make VLANs. So once again, because of that, and home networking from TP-Link and stuff like that, like regular consumer stuff, usually doesn't allow you to have VLANs. This is where it's going to make people, at least people who are understanding what I'm saying, is you're going to have to go out and buy networking gear to protect yourself so that you can still run it at home. So that's my concern here, that the regular average day Joe isn't going to have the network expertise or the gear to be able to keep themselves safe. And that's what I want from you guys, is just to stay safe. So that's just my 2 cents on the new ports and everything being changed. It does say Flux operators here, that Flux operators with home hosting and manual port forwarding need to set the Flux and will have to adjust their router. So if you guys have questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'm not trying to attack Flux in any way or anything like that. I'm a huge supporter of the project, but I do want everybody in this community to stay safe. And I think some people either don't pay attention to the updates as they come out or read the patch notes. So I figured I'd do a video on this and kind of just bring some awareness to all of our Fluxnode operators moving forward. I want everyone to, like I said, to stay safe. So anyways, guys, this is the Moneyking giving you the most hashes, and I'll see you next time.